You spent a lot of time in this course working with metrics for analytics and performance measurement. Now it's time to consider who values this work: stakeholders. Communicating your work to stakeholders is important. Doing the work to launch and monitor a website, app, or campaign without communicating results to stakeholders limits the benefits of your work. Stakeholders want information and the results come directly from you. In this part of the course, you will identify stakeholders and how to build trust with them. It all starts by understanding what they need from you and communicating effectively with them. You'll learn best practices to prepare data to share with them. Typically, stakeholders don't need all of the metrics that are available, so you need to choose which metrics to share. And after you prepare the data, you also need to create visualizations and presentations that summarize your findings and insights. You will learn about and practice these tasks in the upcoming lessons and activities. You'll be preparing data and visualizations in spreadsheets, which is the most widely available tool for analyzing data. Most associate level jobs in marketing will require you to have a basic knowledge of how to work with data in spreadsheets. If this is your first time working with spreadsheets, spend some extra time to become more familiar with spreadsheet features. You can consult readings for additional references to help you get started with spreadsheets. Spreadsheets do have a limit on how much data they can handle. It's not as common a requirement for entry-level jobs, but some employers may require additional programming or scripting skills to be able to work with big data. If data is stored in a database, people use the standard query language, or SQL, to run queries to view and work with the data. A handful of employers may also be looking for skills in Python, another programming language that is useful for data analysis and machine learning. SQL, also referred to as SQL, and Python aren't covered in this course. If you're working towards a more specialized role in marketing that has a bigger emphasis on data, you can complete courses dedicated to these topics. Courses are available from many providers and are offered on a variety of platforms, including Coursera. That's all for now. To keep stakeholders invested in your marketing project, you'll constantly need to be aware of what interests them the most. Continue with the next video to learn more. In this video, you'll learn who a stakeholder is and how to understand their needs and respond to their requests. You might be one of a few people who has access to the metrics and analytics tools. Stakeholders might not have direct access to the data. How will you share information with them? In business, a stakeholder is someone with an interest or a concern for a project and its results. A stakeholder can be an executive, a manager, or a colleague in your own organization or department. Sometimes a stakeholder can be a client outside of your organization. For example, a stakeholder within your organization could be a director whose operating budget funds your project. Or if you're working with a client stakeholder paying for a project, they'll be reviewing your results closely because they usually can't perform the work themselves. Stakeholders are important because they fund projects. They can also have influence to ensure a project's success. A marketing coordinator keeps stakeholders informed about a campaign's progress, ongoing metrics, and insights gained along the way or at the end of a project. If you don't know how you should interact with stakeholders, follow up by asking your manager or stakeholders directly if required. Start by understanding stakeholder interest in your project. How does your campaign goal relate to their overall sales goal? Do they have a certain revenue forecast? Are they introducing a new product? Do they have an expected ROAS? Are they comparing historical data? Are they monitoring budget constraints? What aspects of the customer journey are they interested in? Also, know when to keep stakeholders informed. Who initiates exchanges? Do they prefer that you send them reports to them regularly, or do they prefer to request information as needed? How often should reports be sent? What results are a priority? What triggers an escalation or emergency communication? Know how to communicate with them. It's best to communicate using the methods a stakeholder prefers, or if you're working with a group of stakeholders, the methods that work best for a majority of them, including meetings, email, chat, and phone calls. It can help to establish a preferred method of communication early on in a project or before it begins. Finally, understand how data is best presented. If stakeholders don't get useful information from the metrics you share, they won't benefit from your insights. Summarizing data using a combination of text and visuals makes metrics easier to consume. Here is an example that shows the data as a table and chart at the same time. Dashboards also summarize data well. This might not be required for every project, but some people find it helpful to create a stakeholder map to record how to interact with their stakeholders. Placing stakeholders' names on a map like this helps you identify the type and amount of interaction you will need to maintain with each stakeholder. Your most invested stakeholders with a high level of interest and a high level of influence will be in the square at the top right. Let's finish with some role playing. I'll take on the roles of two stakeholders and you'll select the best way to respond to my questions. Pretend that I'm a sales manager with an interest in your current campaign because I want to increase online sales of a particular product. I'm curious about the impact your campaign is having on online sales, but I don't have a lot of time to look at data and reports. How's your campaign going? What can you tell me about online sales of the new product? Which responses do you think would be the most helpful to me? A, it's going great. B, I'll send you the most recent update and report. Or C, I'll send you the numbers for online product purchases over the last 3 months. Did you choose C? You would best meet my needs by sending the numbers for online product purchases because an online sales update is exactly what I want. Answer B, sending me the most recent project report isn't as helpful because I would have to search through a report for the data. Answer A, telling me that the campaign is going great isn't as helpful either. That response makes me think that sales are good, but I don't have any data to back that up. Let's try again. This time, I'm a marketing manager in your organization who isn't your supervisor. I'm closely monitoring campaigns because I need to revise my campaign budget, but I'm not on your distribution list to receive reports. Is your campaign on track to meet the ROAS? Knowing that I'm not on the distribution list to receive reports, what is the most helpful response? A, I'm not allowed to share this information with you. B, can I get back to you later? Or C, I don't know. Let's review the responses. Answer A, I'm not allowed to share this information with you, is an honest answer, but I could be in fact added to the distribution list. Answer C, I don't know, dodges the question so you don't share any information, but this can reflect poorly on your job skills. I might wonder why you don't know since my question is related to a campaign you're working on. Answer B, can I get back to you later, is the most helpful response of the three choices. Promising to respond later gives you time to talk to the right person about adding me to the distribution list before you share information with me. Hopefully you enjoyed your time spent with this video, including the role playing. You should now have a better idea of how you can adjust your data sharing and communication strategies to meet the needs of a variety of stakeholders. Sometimes data from analytics platforms is exported to spreadsheets. Spreadsheets offer the flexibility to analyze data sets in a manner you choose. For example, you can compare current data with data from previous campaigns in a spreadsheet. You might also use spreadsheets to sort metrics in a certain order or filter out and exclude certain metrics before you share the data with stakeholders. This video covers how to sort and filter data in spreadsheets. You can use Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. Both environments offer sorting, filtering, and pivot table options in the main insert menu. This video demonstrates features in Google Sheets, but you can perform the same tasks in Microsoft Excel with slightly different menu choices. If you're not already familiar with spreadsheets, they're navigated by columns and rows. Columns are vertical and are labeled alphabetically. Rows are horizontal and are labeled numerically. People refer to cells or positions in a spreadsheet by combining the column and row designation. The cell highlighted in pink is cell A2. When you sort data in a spreadsheet, you can uncover new patterns and relationships within data sets you might not have otherwise noticed. You can sort a range of cells or data in a single column or in a single row in ascending or descending order. In most cases, data sets have some initial organization, so you'll need to keep that organization intact if you sort by a column or a row. This spreadsheet called sorting and filtering contains user, session, revenue, and conversion data organized by browser type. Let's sort the data by putting the values in the average session duration column or column F in descending order. Average session duration is measured in seconds and is calculated by dividing the total duration of all sessions by the number of sessions. It tells you how long users spent interacting with your site before leaving. First, select cells A1 to I11. With the cells highlighted, select Data from the main menu and then select Sort Range and Advanced Range sorting options. In the window, click the Data Has Header checkbox. Check this box if the data selected has a header. In the spreadsheet, row 1 contains headers and you don't want the headers to be sorted with the data. For Sort By, use the drop-down to select Average Session Duration, which is the column containing the data in column F. Click the radio button for Z to A to sort in descending order. This will put the longest session duration at the top. Click Sort. The values for average session duration in column F are now in descending order, but the data in the other columns wasn't sorted. It appears that Internet Explorer users had the longest sessions. An alternate method to sort is faster. Click Undo to put the data back in its original order. Now, click any cell in column F. Select Data from the main menu, and then select Sort Sheet and Sort Sheet by column F, Z to A. You get the same results as before. You can click Undo again to put the data back in its original order. When you filter data in a column, you display only the data that meets a certain condition you specify. All non-matching data is hidden when the filter is in place. Filtering is done on a column-by-column basis. In addition to filtering by conditions, you can filter by exact values or highlighted colors within cells. In the same spreadsheet, filter values in column F to display only the browsers that had average session durations less than 100 seconds. Select Data from the main menu and then select Create a Filter. This adds a filter icon in each column header. Next, click the filter icon in column F for average session duration. Expand Filter by condition and then change None to Less Than. Finally, enter 100 for the value and click OK at the bottom of the window. Only 3 rows of data are displayed. All other rows in which the average session duration was greater than or equal to 100 are hidden. It turns out that the Samsung, UC, and Safari browsers had average session durations less than 100 seconds. Sorting and filtering in spreadsheets enables you to organize and prepare data to share with others. For more information about filtering by conditions, exact values, or highlighted cells, refer to readings and references provided. You learn to use spreadsheets to sort data in a certain order and filter out and exclude certain data. This video covers how to use pivot tables to categorize data. You can use Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. Both environments offer pivot table options. This video demonstrates how to create a pivot table in Google Sheets. Creating a pivot table in Microsoft Excel will follow a similar process. A pivot table changes your view of data in a spreadsheet to a different perspective to categorize it, or to identify an insight or trend. A pivot table doesn't actually change the data in the spreadsheet. Here is an example of a pivot table that compares the number of units and average price of units sold in each campaign for both online and offline stores. A pivot table has 3 basic parts: rows, columns, and values. Rows displayed selected values from the data horizontally in a pivot table. In the example, store, offline, and online, and campaign 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the rows displayed horizontally. Columns display selected values from the data vertically in a pivot table. In the example, units sold and price per unit are the columns displaying values vertically. Values are used to perform calculations or count instances of repeating data. In the example, values were used to calculate the sum of units sold and the average price per unit sold. Now let's create this pivot table. The parts of the pivot table will become much clearer as you observe the steps to create a pivot table. First, select the data, such as in cells A1 to E15 in the pivot table data spreadsheet. Next, select Insert from the main menu and choose Pivot Table. Most people create pivot tables in a new sheet, so leave New Sheet selected and click Create. In the pivot table editor, click the Add button for rows and select Store. You can go with the default settings. Click the Add button for rows again and select Campaign. Again, you can keep the default settings. Both rows will be listed in ascending order. This means that the store types will be displayed in A to Z order and campaigns will be displayed in numeric order. Because offline comes alphabetically before online, offline data will be displayed before online data. Now, create the columns of the pivot table. Click the Add button for values and select units sold. Keep the default setting to summarize the data as a sum. Click the Add button for values again and select price per unit. But this time change Summarize by Sum to Summarize by Average. The result is the pivot table that was presented earlier as an example. A final feature of pivot tables is filters. You can use filters to display only the data you want in a pivot table. In the pivot table you just created, click the Add button for filters and select Campaign. Click the drop-down for showing all items for status, uncheck campaigns 3 and 4, and click OK. Notice how the pivot table now shows the data for campaigns 1 and 2 only. To remove the filter, simply click the X for the campaign filter. Pivot tables are a powerful way to analyze and prepare data to share with others. The steps to create pivot tables are quite detailed, so feel free to replay this video as a review or for help creating pivot tables in other activities. You can also refer to online help articles for more guidance and examples. You learn that spreadsheets provide flexibility to sort, filter, and analyze data in a manner you choose. Spreadsheets also provide flexibility to create visualizations of the data. This video covers basic chart types in spreadsheets. One advantage of creating charts in spreadsheets is you can copy and paste them into slides when you need to present the data to others. Basic visualizations in spreadsheets include vertical column charts, horizontal bar charts, line charts, area charts, pie charts, and histograms. If you're comparing how a metric or variable changes, you can use a vertical column chart for the different measurements. In a vertical column chart, individual measurements are each shown as a vertical column. You can compare how one metric changes over time in a single column chart. For example, you could compare the number of new users in January and February in a single column chart. Or you might need to compare two metrics or variables side by side, like the number of new users and the number of returning visitors in January and February. In this case, you can use a grouped column chart. Finally, if you want to compare related metrics or variables to avoid the spread of a grouped column chart, you can use a stacked column chart. The stacked column chart shown here would be appropriate to compare the total number of users in royal blue, the number of users who abandon their shopping carts in dark blue, and the number of users with completed purchases in light blue. A horizontal bar chart is simply a 90-degree rotation of a column chart. You might opt for a horizontal bar chart if there's a large difference between the measurements you're comparing. For example, if you're showing a large spike in new users, a horizontal bar chart saves space because a vertical column chart might be too tall. Like vertical column charts, horizontal bar charts can be single, grouped, or stacked. If your data shows how a metric changes over an extended period of time, you can use a line chart. In line charts, individual data points for a changing variable are connected with a continuous line. A line chart can be a single line chart showing one metric changing, or stacked line charts to show two or more metrics changing. An area chart represents data in the same way as a line chart, but with the space under the line filled in to form a visual area. Area charts can be single, unstacked, or stacked. The unstacked format of an area chart is unique because data points don't align on the x-axis, causing the areas to have a different shape. Unstacked area charts can result if measurements weren't collected on the same days, but you're still trying to show an overall trend. A pie chart is useful to show data that has partial and whole results. For example, you could use the pie chart here to represent the percentages of sales attributed to each of the 4 campaigns shown here in green, blue, red, and yellow, adding up to 100% or the whole pie. A histogram shows individual data points that have been categorized into ranges, with the frequency of each range represented by the height of a unique column. For example, you could use the histogram here to show the demographics of online sales classified by age groups. Returning to the sorting and filtering spreadsheet, let's create a chart that compares the number of new users versus the total number of users for each browser type. These steps are for Google Sheets, but the steps in Microsoft Excel are pretty similar. First, select cells A1 through C11. Then, click Insert from the main menu and select Chart. A vertical column chart may appear by default. If you want to change the chart type, use the chart editor on the right. Click the Setup tab in the chart editor. Then, make your selections. In this case, click the drop-down arrow for stacking and select Standard. This changes the chart from a column chart to a stacked column chart. You can select other charts in the chart editor to pick the type of chart you like best. If you're working in Microsoft Excel, after you select cells A1 through C11, click Insert from the main menu and then choose the icon for the chart type you want. You'll be creating other types of charts in activities in this course. The chart examples in this video are also included in a downloadable guide in a reading. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, charts in spreadsheets can be easily copied into slide presentations. You'll also get a chance to create a presentation with charts from a spreadsheet. All of these skills will help you share insights and data with stakeholders. You have observed how spreadsheets are useful for basic data analysis. You have also seen how spreadsheets can be useful for creating charts for data visualization. However, spreadsheets may not be suitable for more advanced or custom data analysis, or for more dynamic visualizations that change in real time. Many businesses need qualified data analysts to solve problems and help them make the best possible business decisions. A marketing organization or an e-commerce business is no exception. If a marketing specialist performs data analysis or creates visualizations for campaigns, that role may actually be a hybrid one. A hybrid role could blend a marketing coordinator and a data analyst role into a single marketing specialist role. Marketing coordinators coordinate marketing activities and initiatives, identify target audiences through research, run campaigns, and evaluate trends. Data analysts collect data, query databases, apply statistical methods to data, and create data visualizations. Some additional tools and skills may be required for a hybrid role in marketing. A combination of a marketing coordinator and a data analyst. You have worked with Google Analytics, but a marketing team may want to analyze data in different ways or create reports not available on a particular platform. Coding or programming skills are required for more customized data analysis. The programming language Python has become popular for data analysis. An increasing number of data analysis libraries are available in Python. Python is also used for data mining, data processing, and data visualization. Another programming language, R, is also used for data analysis and visualization and has packages for statistical calculations. Programming is a good skill to have in a hybrid marketing role. You are also introduced to big data. Big data often resides in large databases instead of in analytics tools. You learned how data might be exported from Google Analytics to BigQuery, Google's cloud-based data warehouse solution. Structured Query Language, or SQL, is a standard language used to communicate with databases developed by different vendors and hosted on multiple platforms. SQL queries enable people to pull data from databases for analysis. Knowing how to run SQL queries is a good skill to have in a hybrid marketing role. You have created charts and spreadsheets. These charts are created from snapshots of data that don't change. But a marketing team may want to present data and insights in a dashboard that reflects data in real time while allowing users to interact with the data. A dashboard is a tool to track, analyze, and display KPIs, metrics, and insights dynamically based on interactive user criteria. Knowing how to create dashboards is a good skill to have in a hybrid marketing role. Tableau is a visual analytics platform that makes it a lot easier to explore and manage data, and to create custom dashboards that incorporate different data visualizations in one place. Tableau Public is a version of the platform where you can explore, learn more about its features, and even try creating your own visualizations and dashboards. After you create an account on Tableau Public, you can click Discover in the menu bar. Enter Marketing Dashboard in the search field to find marketing dashboard examples. When you work in Tableau Public, you can choose to keep your work private or share it with the rest of the Tableau Public community. In fact, the marketing dashboard examples were created by Tableau Public community members who allowed their work to be visible to the entire community of users. Google Data Studio is another solution to help you visualize data with custom reports and dashboards. It's free to use and connects to many data sources. You can click Templates to explore the template gallery. Templates are available for Google Analytics, Google Ads, BigQuery, Google Sheets, YouTube Analytics, and Search Console. If you're interested in developing a broader range of skills in analytics, you can check if the Google Data Analytics Career Certificate is right for you. It includes an introduction to SQL queries, Tableau, and the R programming language. Having familiarity and experience with SQL queries, Tableau, and a programming language like Python or R will help you stand out for a hybrid role in marketing. Marketers gain insights by monitoring the metrics for ongoing or completed campaigns. They prepare data to share with others. They create visualizations for the data. The last step is to create a presentation to share their findings with stakeholders. This video will describe how to prepare an effective presentation for stakeholders. A presentation is like a map. A map uses Global Positioning System or GPS data to get people to a final destination. When you create a presentation, you use marketing analytics data to lead an audience to your final conclusion. To do this, first develop a clear outline or flow of the presentation. Then, decide which data to use. Include the most relevant metrics that led you to your insights. Too little data can cause an audience to have a lot of questions. Too much data can cause an audience to lose their focus on the main topic. When you create a presentation with these things in mind, your insights, the flow, and the data, your audience will be able to arrive at the same conclusion. Here are some best practices when creating slides for a presentation. Progress from general to specific topics. State any insights clearly and upfront. Repeat the insights when presenting the relevant supporting data. Introduce data visualizations using titles that relate back to the insights. Allow time for questions so the audience can reach the same conclusion. End the presentation with a call to action, such as making a decision. In the next example, you will get a feel for the process of creating an outline and selecting relevant data. Pretend you are working on a campaign for your company and you are requesting an in-progress change to the budget spend. To get this change approved, you need to present your analysis to stakeholders. In this case, they are a mix of people within and outside your department. You are recommending a change in budget spend based on ongoing measurements of ROAS for 2 channels in your campaign. You want to double the spend on the more profitable channel by cutting the budget for the less profitable channel. So this is your conclusion. Your outline or path forward could be a summary of current spend, followed by a projected outcome if the current spend is adjusted. You could also describe the benefits of making the change as well as any lost opportunities if the change isn't made. Notice in the outline, the flow starts with the general status of the campaign spend and then moves on to the specifics of making a change to the budget. This satisfies the best practice of moving from general to specific topics. The outline also ends with a call to action, another best practice. The data could potentially include ROAS for both channels, the conversions attributed to each channel, and the conversion rates for each. These metrics support display ads being a more profitable investment. The data would support the request to make the budget change. If you create visualizations of the data, titles like higher spend for higher ROAS and spending where conversions happen could help map the data to your conclusion. This would also satisfy the best practice of naming data visualizations so they relate back to your insights. In another activity, you'll create a presentation for stakeholders using the strategy you learned in this video. You'll also be able to evaluate completed presentations to check whether they follow the best practices that were introduced.
Congratulations on finishing this video from the Google Digital Marketing and E-commerce Certificate. Access the full experience on Coursera, including job search help, and start earning the official certificate by clicking the icon or the link in the description. Watch the next video in the course by clicking here. and subscribe to our channel for more lessons from Google Career Certificate.